Good morning.
It is.
So my heart's beating fast. I meditated last night. I invited my brother and sister-in-law here. This is the first time they've been here. And as I was meditating last night, Source Energy said, you're going to be up in that seat today. I didn't realize I would be the first one. But I have something that I want to share and a question I want to ask first. I would like to hear Abraham's take on the relationship that we physical beings have with light and sound and how it affects our ability to create.
We understand why the question feels better than it really is. Because light and sound are the most predominant ways that humans sort of understand vibration. That's why we use the analogy of the sound wave, because you've seen sound waves and you sort of get it, and you hear about light waves and you get it. But we would like to step back into a more general word. That's why we use words like vibration and energy, and you're just wanting to make it realer and more manifested, really. So vibration is everything. It's everything that we talk about. It's everything that everyone is. You are vibrational beings. And so you're vibrational beings, and the reason that we're not as excited about the conversation about light and sound is because you use your physical senses to observe them. And we're wanting you to use your emotional senses, because the vortex is full of things you can't see or hear yet. But you can feel them, you can know them, you can acknowledge the existence of them. You see what we're getting at? So now, get deeper into your question, because we know you have a reason for it.
Well, I work with sound, with my voice, and my journey has really been about connecting the mental, which I think of as the connection with the light energy, our thought processes, with the emotional body. And I know for me, I've been listening to your work for a long time, and it's been really powerful in helping me get into my flow. And I find that working too much with the thoughts, trying to think myself, into a better place, can sometimes be helpful. But I find when I get triggered, when I'm angry at someone, or I'm feeling that loneliness or all the stuff you thought about, when I can focus my mental body on the feeling and change the story about the
reason that we are nitpicking just a little bit is because you didn't ask us how we felt about feeling. You asked us how we felt about the vibration of light and sound. But what you are getting at, you are exactly where we are in this evolving message of deliberate creation, because most people have calibrated to a situation, and it's like you were just describing. When you feel angry or frustrated about something and you want to solve the problem, so you give your attention to it, you don't solve the problem, you calibrate to the problem. And since it's attraction, then you attract more things like it around you until you have more and more of an experience of that. And so what you're describing is exactly what we're talking about. It's withdrawing from that situation, which is only going to get bigger, and instead going to a more general place. So here's the exercise that we've been offering to Esther. She's been playing with this for a few weeks now. She'll take her notebook, one that opens softly and nicely, and on the left side of the page, she will write a very brief description of a situation that has caused her to feel some negative emotion. So you want to describe something here, and let's calibrate it? When you feel angry or something, and then what your method is. Okay. So we're just wanting to play the same game with you, sure, doing exactly what you're doing with just a little emphasis on something that will be helpful to everyone.
Okay, so when someone triggers me, let's say my partner.
So this is good. These are good words. Triggers me.
Right.
We calibrated together. We rendezvoused on something where we activated in each other something that we're now having an experience. So we've triggered it in each other, and we've both left our inner beings completely out of it, because we've calibrated to this. We're not calibrated to that. Want to calibrate to that, can't do both. We're calibrated to this, and it was easy to do because it's a situation right here in our faces. So the situation,
I'm not really sure partly because I've learned to not focus on the other. When I get triggered, I don't worry about whether they've calibrated somewhere else or not. I've learned to go directly to my feeling center.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about here. But the thing is, if this happens and you go to your feeling center, and then it happens again and you go to your feeling center, and it happens again and you go to your feeling center, you haven't actually accomplished any real calibration. That calibration is still dominant. Your belief is where you last left it. And calibration will cause you to move your belief to a different place so you don't have a recurrence of that over and over again.
Well, what I've found is when I can go to the feeling center, counteracting my story about the feeling, forget about the person that's triggered me, and to say, what if this feeling isn't bad, it's just what's happening now and it has information for me.
So let's do this. Let's do it our way, just for a moment.
Because I'm here for you and I paid for this thing, so I might as well listen.
There's no big difference between what we're talking about, but this is a process that you will recognize that it is, in essence, what you're doing. The notebook helps you focus, that's all. Give us the situation or some version of it with your partner or anyone. Something that you saw, you calibrated to it and felt negative emotion.
Well, I was in the kitchen cooking and he came in and said, the kitchen was a mess, which it often was when I was cooking, and he said, if you clean up as you're going along, it'll be much easier for you afterwards.
Good. So as he says that to you, you feel negative emotion. Now give us some emotional words. I feel chastised.
I felt criticized. I felt judged.
I feel misunderstood.
Right.
Those are pretty good words.
Put down. I'm not doing it right.
Everybody relates to that. So we would write those words on the page. I feel criticized. I feel misunderstood. I feel like I'm right and he isn't. I feel unappreciated. All right, so there it is. Now, focusing on it like that, you're sort of identifying it and calibrating to it. What we really want you to hear is that as you're calibrating to that, I feel unappreciated, there's a wave of appreciation that immediately is launched, which you have no access to. I feel misunderstood. Understanding happens in your vortex, but you're not calibrating to that because you're calibrating to this, and not without reason. We get it. This isn't the first time it's happened. It's the millionth time it's happened. And it's not just with him, it's with a lot of other people under a lot of other situations. You feel that with people who aren't smart enough to know the wisdom of what you're doing. Well, don't you? Aren't you doing it that way because that's the way you do it best? Haven't you found, especially with cooking, we're justifying for you, especially with cooking, that you've got to move fast and you've got your priorities straight and you're doing what really matters. The cleanup can happen later, but the timing of things and the creation of things, you've got all these reasons, and everything that you would say in that situation to your partner, he would meet you with an equivalent why you shouldn't do it that way. So it just gets bigger and messier and bigger and messier, and we're not just talking about the kitchen. So you write that on that side of the page, and this is essentially what you've been talking about that you're doing. Now you ask yourself the question, how do I really feel? What's my dominant feeling about myself? Am I inadequate or way adequate? Am I a foolish person or a wise person? Wise. Am I a good cook or a terrible cook? I'm a good cook. Am I in love with life or do I despise my life? I love my life. Now, these are questions that you have deep-rooted answers to, and you can calibrate to those answers immediately. Do I adore my guy or do I wish he would go away? Now remember, you're not talking about this situation. You've stepped back from that. If you're talking about this situation, you say, go away. But when you're calibrating to the whole of who you are, am I happy he's in my life or is he a pain in my life? I'm happy that he's in my life. Do I need absolute agreement with everything that I do, or am I in harmony with who I really am? Is it his job to approve of everything I do, or is it my job to find harmony with what I'm doing? Just by stepping back from the condition that you have been letting calibrate you, you've taken that precise experience and you've deliberately, in concert with your source energy, calibrated to who you really are. And in doing so, you have shifted that vibration.